From Hollywood, it's America's #1 popular music show, America's Top 10 with Casey Kasem. This week, you'll see Stevie Wonder.
Everyone's feeling pretty. It's hot Thursday in July.
Pat Benatar.
You can't tell me don't look the way that I do.
Charlie Pride.
I found myself falling for that same old line.
Casey's interview with Susan Anton and Fred Noblock.
Killing time for holding one another.
Plus, Casey's exclusive reviews of Billboard's Top 10 on the Pop, Soul, Country, and Album charts for the week ending December 14th, 1980. Now, here's Casey Kasem.
Hello again. Let's begin this week's show with the album chart. Now, the action is all internal in the top 10. Queen's smash album that's been on the chart for 22 weeks moves down 3 notches to number 9. That's The Game. That was a former #1 album. And at number 6, moving up a notch, Pat Benatar has a hot album, and it's called Crimes of Passion. And at number 1, taking the place of the Barbra Streisand #1 album called Guilty, is Greatest Hits by Kenny Rogers. Well, now, stepping into the album spotlight this week is a female rock star whose mother was grooming her to become an opera singer. You see, Pat Benatar's mother had sung in New York City Opera, and she hoped that her daughter would go even further and become an opera star. So, during her teens, Pat spent many hours a day in vocal training, and she was enrolled at the famous Juilliard School of Music. But just a few months before she started school, Pat Benatar began listening to the beat of a different drum. She quit opera singing, and she turned to rock and roll. Well, it's taken her about 10 years to make it, but today she's one of the hottest female singers in the business. And here she is on AT10. Here she is with her current top 10 album song titled, I'm Gonna Follow You, Pat Benatar. And that's Pat Benatar in our album spotlight with I'm Gonna Follow You. In just a moment, in our pop spotlight, the sensational Stevie Wonder. Well, now let's check out the top 10 on this week's pop singles chart. Moving up a notch to enter our board at number 10 is Pat Benatar's Hit Me With Your Best Shot. And making a 5-notch leap to come in at number 9 is the Barbra Streisand Barry Gibb duet, Guilty, which is back-to-back with Barbara's solo smash and recent number 1, now at number 8, Woman in Love. At number 7, Bruce Springsteen's first top 10 single, Hungry Heart. It climbs another notch. And at number 6, also climbing a notch, is Neil Diamond's 10th top 10 hit, Love on the Rocks. Holding at number 5, Stevie Wonder's 22nd top 10 hit, Master Blaster. And at number 4, John Lennon has not stopped climbing yet. He's up 2 notches with Starting Over. At number 3, a recent number 1 smash that just won't quit. It was down to number 4 2 weeks ago, moved back up to number 3 last week, and stays there. Another one, Bites the Dust by Queen. And at number 2, Leo Sayer is still knocking on the door with More Than I Can Say. But the man at number 1 won't open up. For the 5th consecutive week, the most popular song in America, number 1, is Kenny Rogers' Lady. And now it's time for our Pop Spotlight Song of the Week. 30 years ago in Saginaw, Michigan, superstar Stevland Judkins was born. And he took to music like Popeye takes to spinach. When Stevland was just 11 years old, a friend introduced him to the president of Motown Records, Berry Gordy. Well, Gordy was so impressed with this little kid's singing ability and his ability to play several instruments that he signed that 11-year-old to a contract. And so there began a 19-year association between Motown Records and Stevie Wonder. An association that so far has produced 22 top 10 hits, including 6 number 1s. Now, with his 23rd top 10 hit, number 5 this week on the chart, here's Stevie Wonder with Master Blaster. Stevie Wonder and Master Blaster. Well, now, my interview this week is with a woman who competed just a few years ago in the Miss America beauty pageant. She was 19 at the time, and she finished runner-up. She took the money, the scholarship money she won, and she used it to launch her career as an entertainer. She's from a small town in Southern California called Yucaipa, and I guess that doesn't even appear on some maps, but Yucaipa's favorite daughter has become a household personality. First as the singing, dancing spokeswoman for Muriel Cigars and Serta Mattresses, and more recently as the star of 4 big specials on NBC. She performs at some of the biggest hotels in Vegas, and she's done dramatic TV and films. Well, I think you've recognized her by now as tall, blonde, beautiful Susan Anton. Well, Susan now is looking for a new mountain to climb, but it's the one that she's had her eye on for a long time now, and that's recording. And recently our cameras found Susan Anton at a recording session. Fred Knobloch and Susan Anton in the studio, and Susan Anton's entry into the record world called Killin' Time, headed toward the top 40 on both the pop and the country charts. And it's nice seeing people doing what they really want to do, isn't it? Coming up on AT10, a song by the pride of country music, a man who's hit number 1 on the country chart 23 times. Now let's take a look at all the action on this week's Top 10 Country Chart. We have 2 debut records, moving from number 12 to number 10, Mac Davis with Texas in My Rearview Mirror, and moving from 14 all the way up to number 6 with his 46th Top 10 record, Merle Haggard with I Think I'll Just Stay Here and Drink. And a big move from number 4 to number 1, the new number 1 record, Alabama, and Why, Lady, Why?
Why, lady, why can I leave you alone?
Well, now it's time for our Country Spotlight song, and it's by one of the towering superstars of country music, Charley Pride. A man who got there in spite of 3 unusual factors that all worked against him. To begin with, he was born and raised in a town, he says, where he never heard country music, Sledge, Mississippi. The only sound he heard was the blues. Next, Charley's choice for a career wasn't music. It was professional baseball, and he was good enough to make it to the minor leagues. And finally, Charley Pride is black. But when country fans heard Charley's treatment of country songs and his genuine country twang, his roots no longer mattered. And let me tell you how much his roots didn't matter. In the past 12 years, Charley Pride has hit number 1 on the country chart a phenomenal 23 times. His current hit is in our Country Spotlight this week, You Almost Slipped My Mind, Charley Pride. The great Charley Pride, and the song You Almost Slipped My Mind, our Country Spotlight Song of the Week on America's Top 10. Well, now we're up to our trivia question. A viewer in New York wants to know if a singing married couple have ever had solo hits, one by him and one by her, in the top 40 at the same time. Yes, 3 couples have done that. There's James and Carly, Steve and Edie, and the third couple are no longer married. I'll have details in just a moment. Now, the answer to our trivia question. It was sent in by Roseanne Perkins in Ogdensburg, New York, and she watches the show on Channel 5, WNEW, New York. She wants to know if there ever was a time when a singing married couple had separate solo records that were hits at the same time. Well, the first to do it was Steve and Edie. In 1963, Edie Gourmet hit number 7 with Blame It on the Bossa Nova, and Steve Lawrence, her husband, hit number 1 with Go Away, Little Girl. Both records in the top 40, same time. Then in 1965, Cher Bono had a number 15 hit with All I Really Want to Do, while Sonny, her husband, had a number 10 with Laugh at Me. And both songs were in the top 40 at the same time. Now, most recently, James Taylor and Carly Simon did the trick 3 times. In 72, James was in the 40 with Don't Let Me Be Lonely Tonight. Carly was in with You're So Vain. In 77, James had Handyman, while Carly had Nobody Does It Better. And just a few weeks later, Nobody Does It Better was still in the 40, while James hit with Your Smiling Face. And those are your 3 singing married couples who have had solo hits in the top 40 at the same time. Thanks, Roseanne, for an interesting question.
And because America's Top 10 used Roseanne's question, she'll receive Hamilton Beach's Quartz Heater. Quartz Radiant Heater design heats people first, not air. Designed to prevent overheating, conserve energy, reduce heating costs. From Hamilton Beach, Scoville.
Well, that's America's Top 10 for this week. Be with us next week, won't you, when we'll count down the charts and have a special update on Connie Francis. Till then, keep your feet in the ground and keep reaching for the stars.
Oh, yeah.